With dementia, there is present memory loss, past memory loss, and direction orientation loss. When you come into a dementia unit, there's actually a lot to orientate to. The dementia resident then has to orientate to where the nurse's station is, the lounge is, and the dining area is, and then of course the ever difficult task of finding where their bedroom is, especially if the bedroom is at the end of a long white corridor with white walls and white doors all the way. It can be very difficult to orientate to, be able to identify the door and the room. And that's why it's so important to have a door that's identifiable with their name and number clearly written at eye level, so that they can find their room, enter it, and then relax and rest or go to the bathroom or whatever it is, the activity that they wish to do. But having that identifiability helps so much in being able to reduce the stress of direction, orientation, pressure. I mean, if they can't find their room, it's enormously stressful. It's like the person gets breathless, they get stressed, they get upset, and they can often end up going 2, 3, 4 times around the dementia unit circular circuit before a staff member is available or sees that they're in trouble and directs them to their room. And by the time they get to their room, it can often take them, a couple of hours before they can relax and unwind enough to be able to settle. So direction orientation is something that can be practiced, thankfully. Identifiability of the room and the door is important. The door can have a colourful slick, a different colour, or even a symbol on it for the person to be aware of their room. Sometimes photo boards are put up with photos of their past that they can recognise, but mainly it's the number and the name on the door that's the big thing. But the colour, the different colour of the door actually does make a difference I know this because the last dementia unit I worked at, when I initially started there, it was all white walls, all white doors. I mean, there were small plaques of the name and number of the resident on the door, but they were up high, good for a 6-foot man at eye level, but for a little old lady, 5 foot, on a walker going along the corridor, she wasn't going to be looking up to the level that these signs were at. The signs have to be at the eye level of the people as they're walking along. And if your mother's 5 foot high, it's good to have the sign of her room at that eye level, because dementia residents forget to look up, to look at the sign. I mean, they've got a present memory problem. They'll just be walking along like so. I mean, it actually takes them a lot of effort even to turn their head to the right, to remember to turn the head to the right, to look at the names and signs, but then to look to the right and then have to look up high with a sore neck, with a stiff back. It's all too much. So that's why having the name and the number at eye level height gives them a chance of being able to recognise their room, but still practice is needed, mainly to remind them that they need to turn their head to the right, because to see their name and number on the door. Otherwise, they'll just carry on walking all the way up the corridor, looking straight ahead, and back looking straight ahead just the same way, without realizing, recognizing, or remembering. Well, they won't remember, but they need to have some recognition of the fact. With practice, it becomes like more of a subconscious memory, that they're able to, that they know that they need to look right to be able to find their door. I mean, relatives also often help if they can see that a resident can't find their room. Also, some astute dementia residents actually, if they know where their room is, then if their neighbour's coming to find their room and they have difficulty finding it, they will direct them to their room. They certainly won't know the rest of the rooms and the residents that are in them, but for their neighbour, their direct neighbour, especially if they're friends, they'll be able to direct them and orientate them to where their room is. So in that way, relatives helping, residents helping their neighbours, and of course nurses and carers directing residents when they're not doing cares in the rooms. But sometimes, a lot of the time, there's no one in the corridor various times of the day, and if that's the case, if the person hasn't got direction orientation and it's not picked up, they can end up going on this very stressful circuit. It is very stressful not being able to orientate to where your room is, because if you know where your room is, then you've got that autonomy. You can make that decision at any time of the day. Okay, I'm going to go and lie down. I'm going to relax in my chair. I'm going to have a sleep. I'm going to my room. Whereas if you can't find your room, you're sort of destined to either sit in the lounge and just be there all day, or you're at the mercy of someone else telling you where it is. That being the case, you have to find someone to tell you where it is. Hopefully someone's at the nursing station to be able to tell you, okay, your door's 158 at the end of the corridor. But even then it's difficult, because you might go to the end of the corridor, but you haven't got that direction orientation to be able to find your room at the end. So that's why direction orientation practice with your family or friends or whoever can help. Really, it goes a long way, because the thing is, the dementia resident will be making the effort. They will want to know where their room is, for sure. They want to have a relaxed life, and to be able to have a relaxed life, they need to be able to know where their room is. They don't want to be destined going up and down, stressed out, calling out where their room is. So if you can help them with that, it's really one of the greatest services that you can do for a dementia resident, is for them to be able to find their room. Now, another thing in terms of orientation, direction orientation, is trips out. When you take the dementia resident out for a trip, it really is best, if they're an active walker, it really is best to take two people. Arm in arm, each side is good. You know, you can go to the beach, the park, wherever, because just going on your own with one person out, taking a dementia resident out on your own when they don't have direction orientation is too difficult. You can go to pay the bill and they can take off. You can go into the toilet and ask them to sit there and not move, but they forget about that and then they take off down the street, then you can't find them. Whereas if one person can be with the dementia resident and then the other person can pay the bill, go to the bathroom, get the car park organised or the car set up or whatever, then it's much easier. So these are all the ways to be able to cater for direction orientation. Another thing too is that it's important for the person to be able to orientate to their room. And the more that you can have familiar things in the room, the better. Because foreign furniture, foreign bed, foreign chair, foreign chest of drawers, it all just looks like a hospital. But if they have their own bed, their own bedding, their own lovely familiar chair, their own lovely wardrobe, their own shoes, you know, pictures on the wall that they recognise, remember and love, all of these things, photos of the family with big names underneath that they can recognise, this orientates them to their room, to where they're living, and it gives pleasure. Well, maybe not pleasure at this point, but at least orientation and stability comes from that. At least they can settle. That's the first thing. When the person comes into the unit, the main thing you really want is for the person to settle. And the more that they can orientate and find their room and come into their room and be able to lie on the bed, relax in the chair, look out the window, have their favourite memories around them, and be able to entertain visitors with another chair there, their friends or family, in their room, to entertain visitors in their room, and for them to be able to orientate to that hospitality really goes a long way. So I've written these two books, The Resident's Voice from a Dementia Unit and The Resident's Rise, both on Amazon, both on my website, description below. And thank you for your support and looks and likes. I appreciate it. And please subscribe to this channel if you find it useful and of interest. Thank you.